Okay, so let's get right into a really fascinating legal puzzle. We're always told that speech is protected, right? But what happens when the words you say aren't actually considered speech at all in the eyes of the law? Today, we're going to explore that surprising line where statements stop being protected expression and become something totally different, unprotected conduct. So it all comes down to this thing I like to call the speech paradox. On the one hand, you've got this basic, fundamental right to free speech. But on the other hand, what happens when people use words as weapons? We're going to break down how the legal system squares that circle, especially when we're talking about lawsuits that are just designed to shut people up. So let's just kick things off with the big question. It kind of messes with your head, doesn't it? A statement is just words, so it has to be speech rule. But what if I told you that legally speaking, that's not always the case? Yeah, let's dig into why. Okay, so to get our heads around this, we got to talk about something called anti-SLAPP laws. It's a mouthful, I know. It stands for Strategic Lawsuits Against Public Participation. But in plain English, these are awesome laws built to protect you from getting hit with a bogus lawsuit just for speaking your mind on a public issue. They're all about protecting speech. But, and trust me, this is a huge but, that protection isn't a blank check. And this is where we get to the heart of it. The whole thing, the entire paradox, it all comes down to one single critical distinction the courts make. And that's the line between protected speech and unprotected conduct. Get this, and you get everything. It's where the legal magic happens, and it changes the whole game. Okay, take a look at this, because it lays it all out. On the left, that's what you think of as protected speech, right? Voicing your opinion, jumping into a public discussion. All that good stuff that anti-SLAPP laws were built for. But now, look over on the right. Lying with false facts, hiding property, dodging the court. The law doesn't see that as just talking. It sees it as doing something. It's conduct, carried out with words. Here's the classic way to think about it. You know how shouting fire in a packed theater isn't protected speech? Why? Because it's not about the word fire. It's about what that word is doing. It's causing a dangerous panic. It's an act. Well, it's the same idea here. The law looks at a statement and asks, okay, what's the job of this statement? Is it trying to express a view, or is it being used as a tool to illegally hide something? The function, what it does, that's what matters. And look, this isn't just me making up a cool theory. This is baked right into the law. This quote right here from the California Supreme Court, it's basically the foundation for this whole idea. The court says, listen, the problem isn't that the lie hurts someone's feelings. The real harm is the fraud itself. The damage comes from the act of fraud, not the words used to pull it off. Okay, so theory is great, but how does this actually play out in a real courtroom? How do lawyers take this idea and turn it into a winning argument? Let's pull back the curtain on the actual legal playbook. It's basically a 4-step move they use to just completely take apart that whole, hey, I was just talking, defense. Step 1, relabel it. Don't call it speech, call it what it is, an act of concealment. Step 2, define its job. These words weren't expressive, they were operational. They were tools to mislead, not to persuade. Step 3, pinpoint the real harm. We're not talking about hurt feelings here, we're talking about the actual obstruction of justice. And finally, step 4, bring it all home. Remind the judge what anti-SLAPP is actually for, protecting people who participate in public debate, not people who try to mess with the legal system. You see the pattern, right? It's a really smart move. Every single step is about reframing. It's all about getting the judge to stop looking at the words on the page and start looking at the action those words created, from speech to conduct. That's the whole game. So you might be thinking, why are the courts so obsessed with this line? Why is it so important? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. It's all about protecting the system, both the justice system itself and the whole point of these anti-SLAPP laws. And believe me, the courts have been crystal clear about this again and again, because think about it. Without this line in the sand, a law that's supposed to be a shield for free speech could get twisted into a shield for people doing illegal stuff. And the courts have been really consistent in making sure that just doesn't happen. So what this all boils down to is a set of really clear guardrails. The courts have basically said, nope, anti-SLAPP protection does not cover you if you're committing fraud. It doesn't cover illegal acts. It doesn't cover trying to manipulate the court. And it definitely doesn't cover anything that gets in the way of a fair trial. The message couldn't be clearer. You can't use a shield for free speech to attack the very system that guarantees it. Okay, so we've gone through the definitions, the lawyer's playbook, the court's reasoning, but it all really snaps into focus with one simple, powerful idea. This one little metaphor just cuts through all the noise. This right here, this sentence is just perfect. It says everything. The statements weren't the crime. They were the getaway car. The real crime was obstructing justice. You don't blame the car, right? You blame the driver for what they did with the car. It's such a simple and brilliant way to put it.
And really, that's the big idea I want you to walk away with. When you see this kind of puzzle, just remember, the law is smart. It knows how to look past the surface, the words, and see what's really going on underneath. It sees the function, the illegal act. The words, they were just the tool for the job.
So that leaves us with a really interesting question to chew on, doesn't it? If words can legally be treated as actions, where else does that pop up? I mean, this whole idea has massive implications way beyond just these anti-SLAPP cases. It really makes you wonder what other parts of the law are completely changed by this one powerful distinction. It's a powerful idea with consequences that go far, far beyond this. Makes you wonder, right?